Does it often feel like every time you turn around, something is frustrating you, making you upset, triggering you, and you just can't seem to get a break? Well, I know that feeling all too well. Our emotions, our emotions. Some of us suppress them, some of us lash out, most of us blame other people or situations for our emotions. I feel like none of us, well, most of us, weren't taught exactly about emotions, our own emotions, what they mean, how to deal with them, how to express them. So, I wanted to share a little bit about my experience with emotions. Growing up, I might have mentioned in my other videos that well, first I want to mention that we we learn about everything in general through the modeling of our caregivers, right? So, obviously. So, my mom, for example, she used to get upset about a lot of things and expect other people to make her feel better, right? And again, she didn't know any better. So, I can give you an example like anytime that I was out with my friends partying, she would be getting drunk most of the time at home. And so she would call me when she was upset and rely on me to make her feel better, saying things like, "You're my rock, I miss you, I'm alone." And while I'm sure these feelings were real and valid, she held me accountable and responsible, especially at a younger age, to make her feel better and fill her, right? I don't talk about my dad a lot in the videos because, to be honest, my dad was on a bunch of antipsychotics most of my life. I'm sure you'll hear more about him in other videos, but I mean, he was just pretty much a zombie. He tried to kill himself when I was 3. And so the doctors and everybody didn't really give him a lot of therapy. They just put him on like 25 antipsychotic meds. So pretty much almost my entire like upbringing, my dad was just kind of zombified and not really all there, like there, but not like mentally there. So that's why I talk about my mom more. Anyway, so my mom used to rely on me to make her feel better. Another example would be like, somebody in her life, right, that she worked with would always kind of like pick on her and say things, whatever. They would just be the way they were, right? And my mom would never set any boundaries. She would just allow this person to continue saying the things that they were saying to her. But at the time, I didn't know any better. So I actually used to, try to defend her, make her feel better, because I thought at the time, just like she thought, that people shouldn't treat me that way. There's always going to be, what I've learned over the years is that there's always going to be all types of people around you, and you are responsible for setting your boundaries. You're not responsible for the way other people treat you, right? But anyway, my point was is that this is the way my mom was. Always blamed other people for making her feel a certain way and always relied on me or somebody else to like make her feel better, right? She used to believe, she believed in God, and she'd always call the prayer lines, when she was drinking, and like pray for things, you know, pray for, maybe financial help, stuff like that, even though she wouldn't budget her money, right? So she wouldn't take responsibility for her, and my dad for their financials. But then my mom would be praying on the prayer lines with people to like, for financial help, but she wouldn't take responsibility. So always blaming the external for her situation and never doing anything about it. And so what I realized, or what I was like thinking about the other day was, mostly all of us like have certain tendencies based on how we were raised, right? And based on the ways in which our caregivers acted or dealt with stress, emotions, and we took on these ways of being. And a lot of us aren't conscious of this. and we're literally running on autopilot. And in my case, and maybe other people's cases, blaming other people and blaming our external environment for situations that we're in, and not taking responsibility for our emotions. So something that I've learned is that nobody makes me feel a certain way, and I'm sure I've mentioned this in maybe some of my videos, but I'm just stating it again because I feel like a lot of us don't understand this. Have you ever realized or noticed when somebody does something to you to try to bother you, but it doesn't bother you? Well, it doesn't bother you because there's no inner unconscious insecurity or something within you to reflect back and be projected out, right? Like if somebody picked on me for, oh, you're a blonde, you're stupid, those stupid old jokes about blondes, right? Like if somebody picked on me about that being blonde, because it doesn't really bother me already, because I don't have an insecurity about being blonde and stupid, I would just be like, ha, and like fluff it off and just like laugh, right? But say I'm blonde and I had an inner insecurity about feeling stupid because I was blonde. Then if somebody went and said something to me like that, then I was unaware of that unconscious trigger, that emotional trigger that I feel about myself, then whatever they said would bother me. But then if I was unconscious and not realizing of it, then I would blame the other person, saying, wow, that person's so mean, and I would get upset without acknowledging that feeling is mine and not theirs. See where I'm going with this? So I've really been on this journey of rediscovering this part of myself, especially in the last, couple years, but even the past year, like really embodying this truth. And if you think about it, friends, family, everybody's always blaming external environments or external things and people for the way they feel or things that they're doing. But they're the ones that are choosing, are taking the actions. Like somebody blaming their boss or people at work or complaining about things at work. Okay, well, number one, you're choosing to work there, right? And number two, like I said, people have a hard time setting boundaries, and they expect other people, to just adhere to their narrative and treat them in the way that they expect to be treated. And then if they don't treat them like that, then they get offended and blame that other person, even though that person is just being who they are and they're on their journey, and if they were projecting their shit onto you, that's their business. But it's also your business and your responsibility to not take that personally. And if you did get triggered, to acknowledge that as your own thing. Okay? So I know this can be maybe a huge mouthful or a huge realization, a hard truth to take in. But if you take in this truth, and even if you don't believe it at first, but if you play with it and in situations when you're out in public or around your friends or whoever, and you notice yourself getting triggered and upset at somebody based on what they did or said, afterwards reflect about it. Say, what did I get upset about? What did that person say to upset me? Well, that person said I was blonde and I must be stupid because I'm blonde. Okay. All right, so I got upset because that's what they said. Well, why did I get upset at that? Do I think I'm stupid because I'm blonde? And then really go deep and think, do I think I'm stupid? Well, yeah, sometimes I'm kind of hard on myself and in situations. And so it all starts with observation and self-reflection, really. Taking scenarios and situations throughout your day, and at the end of the day, reflecting upon them instead of just fluffing them off as nothing and not processing them. This is when you don't process your day or hard situations and you just ignore them. I mean, they won't go away. They'll just be suppressed inside of you, and they'll just continue to build up until you face them. And they'll just get worse and worse, and you'll just continue to get triggered by other people, right? And and then you'll go around and become that person that complains about everything and everyone. You ever met one of those people? All they do is complain about everything, And I mean, I've been that person. I've been there. I've been blaming other people and situations for upsetting me and not taking responsibility. So I get it. And this whole process of increasing our awareness and awakening in this life, this is all a part of it, right? I'm just here to kind of share my experience, and I'm not judging you if this is the case, that you haven't realized this yet on your journey, and that's fine. I just like to share my realizations because I'm on my own journey of awakening, because I'm desperate for it. I'm desperate to really live this life and feel the best that I can feel and learn more. So yeah. So yeah. If you go to work all day and you come home, this is another thing I wanted to talk about. Momentum, mindset and momentum. So I'll start with momentum, okay? If you were in the habit of going to work every day and then coming home and, I don't know, making food or ordering food and then watching TV every day, some sort of distractions, right? And you don't make time for processing and reflecting on your day, especially if things happened and you didn't process them throughout the day, these things will just start to build up. So my number one tip in creating more space, happiness, joy, peace in my life and in your life is making time for processing and reflecting and asking questions, right? And challenging yourself to question yourself when somebody upsets you, when somebody makes you feel a certain way. An exercise you can just start doing, is at the end of your day, if you had a few incidences that got you upset or triggered you, start by writing down what triggered you, what upset you. Just start by doing that. Just start by acknowledging your feelings, because this is all a process, and there's steps to it. Steps in awareness, steps in acknowledgement, especially if you come from that place where you don't process or reflect or talk to anybody about these things going on inside of you. And I think that's the problem with most of us. And the reason why we're upset and depressed is because we're not talking about what's going on within us. We're talking about the TV shows we're watching. We're talking about celebrities. We're talking about how shitty the weather is and the Jays game. And I'm not saying that any of these things are not valid or relevant, because all those things are an enjoyment of life. But I think there needs to be some sort of balance. And we need to start incorporating talking about our experiences and our emotions. I believe this human experience is an emotional experience, and it is the main aspect of being human, and is the reason why I think, like I said, we're also depressed and upset or resistant, is because we're not addressing the main aspect of being human, which is our emotions. And I believe that once we become aware of our emotions, what they mean, understanding them, then we can flow through our life so much easier, right? Now I'm going about my days. I'm not perfect yet, but and I'll still get triggered when certain things happen, because that's the old way, the old patterns happening in my body. But the difference now is that I know that person's just being who they are, right? They're on their own journey. We're literally living our own reality. Everybody just is in their own head, living their own life, doing their own thing. Nobody is trying to do something against you. And if they are, it has something to do with they're projecting their own problems onto you, because they're not even acknowledging their feelings as their own. They're taking it out on you. We've all met people like that. So if it's easier for you, look at other people's behavior and how they project onto you, and you're like, I didn't even do anything. What's wrong with that person? It's not you. It's literally them. And that could be you too, going around projectiling on everybody, complaining about everything. Nothing is happening because of you, right? You're just getting triggered. There's a feeling already inside of you. So start by acknowledging your feelings. Don't suppress them. If you feel irritated, agitated, frustrated, insecure, like you want to snap, don't even judge them. We need to start to bring the awareness to them first. That is your first step. Walk into that dark room and start to turn on the light. Switch up the dimmer a little bit, every day, every week, whenever you get a chance. Slowly turn on the light so that you can start to see what's in your dark room. We all have dark rooms, and if you don't acknowledge them, they will run your life. You may have all these dreams and things you want to do, but they ain't gonna happen because you keep on reacting to things outside of you because you're unaware of the internal and blaming the external. And when you start to become aware of your feelings and how they're yours, then you go about your day. And no matter what people say to you or do, you're gonna get to a point, I'm gonna get to a point, like right now I'm just at the acknowledgement point. I haven't fully embodied peace and grace, no matter the chaos outside of me. But we'll both get to that point where we even feel compassion for the person that is projectiling onto us. And we won't take it personally. We'll accept that everybody literally is on their own journey, in their own reality, wherever they are on their path, some of us further than others, it doesn't matter. We're all here together, learning from each other. Key to this, like I said, the first step is taking responsibility for your life, your being, your emotions as yours and nobody else's. So if I can end off on that note, maybe in other videos we can get deeper into understanding the other layers of our emotions. But first, I think we should just start to acknowledge our emotions as our own, nobody else's. Start writing them down, feelings you feel, and the situations that trigger those emotions. Because then when you have them written down in front of you, you really start to process and understand your being, right? What triggers your emotions, what makes you do certain things. And then when you start to become aware of these things, then in real life situations, out there with people and at work or at the grocery store, you start to become more observant of your own behavior versus how, I'm sure you know where I'm coming from, you're always looking at other people, judging other people. And we've all come from that place, probably because we've just been conditioned not to look at our own selves, right? So it's okay, and you'll still have those moments, like I still have those moments, and I'm like, Kylie, why are you judging that person? Stop. Anyways, you'll get to that place where you become the observer of your actions or reactions in situations and things that trigger you, right? Anyway, so I'm gonna leave it at that. I hope that was helpful. I want to let you know that the more aware you become of yourself, the more at peace you start to become in this chaotic world where everybody's acting and everybody's doing their own thing. You start to become aware of yourself and stop looking at other people. Your experience becomes a lot more relaxing and not so triggering from everything in your environment. Okay, guys? So have a great day and we'll chat soon.